Welcome to this episode of the We Travel There podcast. We're in Bhopal, India with my good friends Shantanu and Bhawna Balchandani of pennycallingpenny.com. Shantanu moved here 24 years ago for his father's job, while Bhawna was born here in Bhopal. They love the City of Lakes for its serenity, greenery, and peace. In this episode, we talk about visiting Upper Lake, attending the Holi Festival of Color, and exploring the Birla Temple. Hear about these three amazing experiences and so much more. If you know someone interested in visiting India, I'd love it if you shared this episode with them. The show notes and our one-page guide of Shantanu and Bhawna's tips are available at wetravelthere.com/Bhopal. Now let's get started. The We Travel There podcast helps you travel like a local by interviewing guests from around the world to uncover the hidden gems of their city by finding out the best things to do, eat, drink, and see from a local's point of view. Whether I'm traveling for business or pleasure, it's important to have clothes that make me look good and feel great. I wear Bluffworks jeans, slacks, dress shirts, and blazers because they're wrinkle-free and are designed for the modern traveler. And if they get dirty, a quick spin in the washing machine and they're good as new. Go to wetravelthere.com/Bluffworks for a special offer and to select from the latest styles so you can stay wrinkle-free when you travel. Hey, Bhawna and Shantanu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Today we're talking about a city that, honestly, I hadn't heard about before I met you at FinCon, but it's a city called Bhopal. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly because I always want to respect everybody's culture and the names of the countries. And that's one of the great things about this podcast is I get to learn about so many new cities that I've never heard about and kind of share them with the audience and hopefully inspire them to travel and visit you guys.
Yeah, it's a little bit different pronunciation. It's Bhopal.
Bhopal.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's your connection to Bhopal?
I've been living here for 24 years now. You know how they call gypsies. So we were kind of gypsies because my father was in a nationalized bank and he used to get transferred every 3 years from one city to another, one state to another. So that's how we landed up in Bhopal. But once we came here, my father decided, this is the place that we are going to call home. So this is how I got here. And then, I've been here. I've done my education here. And I'm working right now. I have a company set up in Bhopal. So yeah, basically that's it for me.
For me, I was born and brought up in Bhopal. I believe that Bhopal is like very grounded, like every other small town. And I like to stay that way. I never preferred metro cities specifically, but life is too fast there, and I like to keep it slow and grounded. So yes, I love my city.
Oh, that's fantastic. So for those of those who are listening that haven't heard of Bhopal, obviously India is a huge country. Well, about 1 billion people, is that correct?
1.5 billion and counting.
1.5 now. Okay, yeah, huge population and everything. So, but for those who aren't familiar with Bhopal, where in the country is it located?
You call it the heart of India because it's the centralmost part of India in a state called Madhya Pradesh, where Madhya means central and Pradesh means state. So it's the central state of India, and Bhopal is the capital of Madhya Pradesh. So it's what we call the heart of India.
Now, if somebody wants to visit, where would they fly in? Would they fly into one of the major cities, or are there direct flights to Bhopal, or how does that work?
There are no direct international flights to Bhopal. So there are two major airlines that fly domestically in India. One is Indigo, the other one is Air India. So the ones that get you to the Raja Bhoj airport, that's the airport name of the Bhopal airport. So you don't have any international flights coming up directly to Bhopal. You need to board a flight either to Mumbai or Delhi or to one of the major cities, like you said. So, you land over there and then get a connecting flight to Bhopal. For those who would want to come to Bhopal, I would love them to be here because it's a very beautiful city. The greenery, the peace the city has, the serenity the city has. I don't want your first experience to be, landing at an airport and you don't find the experience well. So that's going to mess up your whole trip. I don't want anybody to have that. So I would prefer people landing in the Mumbai airport because that's a little bit calmer compared to the New Delhi one. New Delhi is the capital, so it's very rushed up and there are so many people on the Delhi airport. And plus, Mumbai is a little bit safer than New Delhi.
I mean, I don't mean Delhi is not good per se. I don't mean that. It's just, full of people sleeping across the airport. so, so if you're like alone and you need some sort of entertainment, choose Delhi. But if you're okay with being yourself, Mumbai should be your go-to airport.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, like you said that you've lived in Bhopal for like 24 years, and Bhawna, you actually grew up in the area and saw it change throughout your lifetime. If you had to describe the city or the people in just a couple words, how would you do that?
It's a very green and calm city. I think those two words would be my keywords. Calm because, like I mentioned before, I like to stay grounded, slow, at peace. It's very calm. And green is because I'm a big time nature lover, and I like cities full of trees against cities full of buildings. Like huge buildings. I don't like that much.
Oh, absolutely.
So for me, it is a very the stillness of the city is something that describes it well. And the calmness, and it all is brought about because of the nature. We have over 10 lakes in Bhopal, small and big combined, and it's also called the city of lakes for that matter.
Yes. And honestly, it's all what we feel about it more than what it looks outside. I mean, Bhopal could be like pretty much a small place, underestimated, fine. But when you enter the city, you get good vibes. I think that's matters the most.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and so like you said, I mean, it's that major juxtaposition versus Delhi, where there it's kind of like that chaos and it's everybody's running around and there's so much activity, versus there in Bhopal, it's like more of just like almost the exact opposite, where it's just relaxed and still and calm.
So lakes take up majority of the area of Bhopal city, and the city is built around the lakes, for that matter. And so what happens is you don't get too much population clustered in one part. So there are segments, there are places, there are some parts of the city where there are hugely populated, densely populated. But the other way around, when you are driving, you don't get that much. When I talk about traffic and when I say it's not too much traffic, I mean I'm just comparing it to with the major cities in India. You get to a place A to B, which is like 2-3 miles, and it might take you about an hour or so to travel. But in Bhopal, that's not the case. It would hardly take you 10 to 15 minutes. That's it.
Okay, okay. Now, if somebody wanted to come and travel to Bhopal, like, what's the weather like throughout the year, and are there certain festivals that maybe somebody wants to plan their trip around?
Definitely. So Bhopal, when we talk about the climate, it's a subtropical climate. There are humid monsoons, the cold winters, and pretty hot and dry summers as well. So we have it all. The temperatures in the summers are, somewhere around 108 degrees Fahrenheit, and they go as low as 42 degrees in the winters. So the monsoons are pleasant, but yes, they are very humid. So Bhopal actually has got everything other than snow. So we don't get snow here. Other than that, we have everything. We have very hot summers, and they are very dry as well. So if I was to suggest someone the best time to visit, it would be from October to March, because that's when the weather is too pleasant to be going out and exploring the city. Otherwise, it gets too hot in the day, and peak summers are a big no, because for 8 to 10 hours you'll be grounded in your hotel room, and you cannot be moving outside. It's so hot outside.
Oh, sure.
When we talk about India, India is a land full of multiple cultures. There is a saying that, at every mile the water changes, and every couple of miles the language changes. So that's how India is. Yes. We have so many different languages, so many different dialects, that when we talk about India, people usually know that, Indians speak Hindi. But there are more than 100 dialects of Hindi. And at times, when I go to my own village where I was born, it was a very small village with a population of around 400 people, and there were hardly 20-25 families that lived there. So considering that factor, it's difficult for me to go back to my own village and understand my own language that I was born with. So that is how diverse it is, and everyone has different cultures, different festivals. But majorly, there are these couple of festivals, that Diwali and Holi, that people celebrate, the whole nation celebrates with too much of a joy.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of festivals, Diwali, Holi, and Navratri would be like three major festivals in India. Holi is basically a festival celebrating the triumph of good over evil. And definitely Navratri is a time when Hindus, celebrate the goddess Durga for killing the demon Mahishasura. So it's like all mythology.
Oh, okay. Nice. Now you're mentioning that as far as like all the different dialects and the Hindi language and everything like that. For somebody like myself, obviously I don't speak Hindi. If I'm coming there to travel to Bhopal, is it going to be easy for me to be able to speak English, or do I need to learn some of the local language? How does that work as far as being able to for a visitor like me to be able to come over there and explore the city?
Oh, that's perfectly all right, because people, even the cab drivers and everyone, they do understand bits and pieces of English, so it's not a big issue over here that you need to speak Hindi. But yes, like many other places, there are a few times where you might be misunderstood, and you might misunderstand people. So you need to be at least with the directions. If you're clear with the directions, then you're good to go. I mean, nothing matters more than that.
Okay, and have Google Translate on your phone.
Yeah, that makes life easier.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, talking also similarly, if I'm coming over from the US, obviously I need my passport, but is there a visa or any other requirements that I need to be able to come into the country?
I'm not too sure about it, but I don't think there's a much need of documentation over here other than having the US passport, because even if there is a visa required, I guess it would be visa on arrival. You won't need anything else prior to that.
Okay, and then like you're mentioning, like even the cab drivers, they speak a little bit of English as well. If I'm going to use a cab or anything along those lines, do I need to have some local currency, or do most of them accept credit cards? How does that work?
So you need to have the local currency. There are only two things that work in India: the credit cards. Yes, the cards do work in India, but these work in the big stores and big supermarkets or something like that. So with cab drivers, your credit cards do not work. So you need to have either the local currency, or there is a system in India that you pay through scanning a QR code. That's called UPI. So the UPI system is where you scan a code, and the amount is paid to the receiver via your bank account. For that, you need to have an Indian bank account. So that won't be possible. So I guess carrying cash would be the best option.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, along those same lines, like you say, we're arriving, we fly into Mumbai because it's a little bit easier of an airport, and then from there we take a domestic flight to Bhopal. From there, would we take a taxi? Do we rent a car? Is there public transportation? How do we get from the airport to the city?
Okay, so renting a taxi would be the better option, because I think that gives you an easier access to when you want to travel, where you want to go. Uber is another option. Uber is a good one. You have Uber over here. You have another Uber like system that's called Ola. So you have two options over here. Taxi would be a better choice, because you get one taxi, you contact your hotel that you are going to stay in, they'll arrange a taxi for you, and that would be much easier than you getting outside and trying that Uber app. Although it's not enough of a hassle, but I still would prefer having it pre-arranged for you by the hotel.
Okay. And speaking of hotels, I would imagine there's some of the major brands there like Marriott and Hyatt and things of that nature. But where would you recommend people stay when they come to visit Bhopal?
I have a few hotels in mind. Nuru Sabha would be one of them. You mentioned Hyatt, right? So it's now acquired by Hyatt. And Nuru Sabha is one of the places like for the true heritage feeling, and the beautiful scenic view of the lake. So that's one of the hotels. And then you have Jainuma Palace, which is again like a true royalty feeling, a palace owned by the Nawabs of Bhopal. This is how it's like framed. So these are the like two major hotels, and then like you come to the brands, you come to 7 stars, 5 stars, and then you have Taj Lakefront. If you want to indulge in luxury and has like one of the better nightclubs in town, Redison, Courtyard by Marriott, and Sayaji are other options to explore in the south part of the city. By the way, south part of Bhopal is like very much new age and developed compared to the other areas. And if you are looking for budget options, then I believe Ranjit Lakeview, self-explanatory because it's like a view. Hotel Amir Palace, and then a few other resorts are some of the places that you could look at.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. When we're there, after we're settled and we have our bags put away and stuff like that, is it a walkable city? Do we need to take public transportation or taxi everywhere we go? How do we get around to some of the best things to do in Bhopal?
Okay, so first of all, public transport is here for the namesake. And I wouldn't want to put any of my guests through the horror, except if you really want to experience that horror. Otherwise, I won't suggest it. I would never recommend it. That's how it is. That's how I put it. Because it's, like you see in the movies that it's crowded, and it's so crowded that you don't even know where your hand is. I mean, you want to scratch your neck and you are scratching somebody else's. So that's how it happens.
Oh my God, that's funny.
so this is how close it gets. So I would rather suggest getting an Uber. If you do not have a full-time cab with you, then Uber is the way to go. You cannot rent a car in Bhopal. First of all, if you're coming from the US, it will be a little difficult for you if you have not driven before in India, because it's a right-hand drive vehicle. You drive on the left side of the road, and there are traffic rules similar to the US, but none of them is followed here.
Oh my God.
So that's the beauty of my country. I mean, I love my country. Why? Because nobody believes in anything. They believe in harmony. So even if the signal is red for three sides, they all converge into the center at once. So they don't believe in discrimination, that why do we have to stop when he's moving. So that's how it happens in India. And
That's awesome. Yeah, there's plenty of times I feel the same way here in the US. I'm like, why am I sitting here at this red light for 3 minutes when everybody else gets to move? And maybe I need to drive when I'm over there. I can just go as fast and do whatever I want.
Oh no, the fast is something you cannot do in India. I mean, leave Bhopal, but anywhere in India, you fast is not something synonymous to driving. I mean, you cannot be driving more than 30 35 miles an hour. That too, if the road is completely empty, because we don't drive on the roads. We drive on anticipation. We believe anybody could appear at any given point of time. So
Oh yeah.
it's like magic. One moment you're driving on an empty road, and you feel the wind gushing, and the next moment you see either a cow in front of you, or a buffalo, or a dog in front of you, or somebody from somewhere jumps in and they're like, what are you doing? I was just crossing the road. This is how it happens in India. Plus, other factor that would be of some concern would be parking. Because parking, if you are going to the old city areas where you need to get the feel of the old city, if you're going there, you won't get any parking. And if you park in the wrong places, the cops tow your vehicle and they take it with them, and they're like, now you have to be fined, and you have to be searching for the police station nearby and then get your vehicle back. So it's a bit of a hassle over there.
Yeah, that nobody has time for all that. That's
Nobody. And somebody once asked me, is there ride share in India? And I was like, ride share? Is that even a thing? Because this is a response. If you ask over here if there is a ride share, Uber ride share, Ola ride share, there is no ride share over here. Because sharing is caring. That doesn't apply in Bhopal. We don't share. We have everything to ourselves. even if even if there is a bus, we want to travel alone. We don't want to share it with anyone. So that's kind of it. Driving is a hassle for the first timers, at least.
That's the beauty of India. I mean, when we were in the US last year, like we traveled twice. We stayed there for almost like 50 days or something. I was really missing street dogs because, here, like in India, you go anywhere, you'll see street dogs, pets all around, and then you kind of pet them, you give them food. So I was missing all of that.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of times where I'd rather like sit there and pet the dog than actually talk to some of the people. So I know it's like
anytime. Anytime.
right on. Well, let's talk about some of the best things to do while we're there in Bhopal. I know there's a lot of different historical buildings and like other attractions that we need to make sure we do while we're there. So what are some of your favorites?
All right. So the first and foremost, like I mentioned, it's the city of the lakes. The upper lake, as we call it, it's called Bada Talab in Hindi. The upper lake is the place that you have to go first, because that has the calmness and stillness that describes the whole city.
Speaking of which, I'm like a big time fan of Upper Lake here, and I mean, like you mentioned, it's very quiet. So whenever I'm feeling dull, I'd like to go there for a walk, and just to clear my head. So anybody who's like a nature lover like myself, don't forget to spend time alone or with your loved ones at Upper Lake.
And you also have the option of those paddle boards and everything, so you can go inside and do this little 30-minute ride of this paddle boards with your
Yeah.
family. That would be a good option. And then there is a place called Bhimbetka, which is a world heritage site as per UNESCO. It's the oldest cave paintings in India, providing the evidence of human civilization during 8000 BC. It has those paintings that old. It is also surrounded by a wildlife sanctuary known as Ratapani Wildlife Sanctuary. So that's how it is. And then you have this one vihar. One vihar is in the heart of the city. When you're visiting the lake, it is right nearby, and it's actually a combination of national park, zoological garden, and the reserve center for wildlife. If any wild animal is lost in the city or somewhere, somehow ventures into the city, so they catch that animal, and then they put that animal into one vihar again, so it gets a permanent home over there. Then you have this Shaurya Smarak, as it is called. It's a war museum. It's a memorial for the armed forces of India. It was inaugurated by our current prime minister, I'm sorry, Mr. Narendra Modi, and it's a sight to behold. Then there is a Manwaban Tekri. It's a hill with the cable car ride that takes you up and down, which is an experience in itself. And then you have a tribal museum. It was recently built in 2013, which depicts the history of tribes of Madhya Pradesh, the central state, which makes about the 40% of the population of the state. So the tribes are very, very much important to Madhya Pradesh, and that's how it is believed.
Sure. I think it's a great way to learn about the history of the people and of the area. Yeah.
100%, 100%, because these tribes, they're getting smaller and smaller day by day, because everybody is moving to the city and they don't have too much to do, because they have their own culture, their own form of dance, their own form of languages, their own form of food, which is slowly and steadily on the verge of extinction. So it's good that it is being preserved. And then you have Birla Temple. It was built by the business tycoons, the Birlas, and was inaugurated by Mahatma Gandhi. Then you have Bhojpur. It's a temple dedicated to Lord Shiva, which was built in somewhere around the 11th century. And a place nearby, it's around I guess 20 miles from Bhopal. It's in the district of Bhopal. That's called Sachi Stupa. It's a Buddhist shrine. Originally, it was built in 3rd century BC by the Maurya Emperor Ashoka, and it is believed to be the house to the ashes of the Buddha. In the center of the city, the old city, as we call it, there is Tajul Masjid, which is a mosque, and it's India's largest mosque by area.
Oh, fantastic. So it sounds like there's so much to do in Bhopal. For somebody like me that I'm going to maybe come there with my two kids and kind of help them embrace the culture and learn about the culture and the city's history. About how long should I plan on visiting?
If you need to get through the major parts of India, you will need 5 to 7 days.
In Bhopal, or are you talking about in multiple cities?
No, Bhopal would take you around 3 to 4 days, and plus, I mean, the whole part. When you're coming to India to visit Bhopal, the whole you need to have a week plan, because the flights and landing in Mumbai and then to Bhopal, so that would take some time for you.
Okay, so we should plan to spend in the city exploring and seeing all the history and the culture 3 or 4 days. But yeah, when you're factoring in the transit time, then you'll need obviously a few more days for all the travel. But say if we're doing like a tour of India or maybe an around the world tour or something like that, then 3 or 4 days would be a great amount of time for stay in Bhopal.
Yes, 100%. Because either you come here for a particular reason. I mean, you need to visit one particular destination, or people have different conferences or meetings. That's a different story altogether. They can get done with their meetings and then they can fly back. But if you're coming here to actually see the culture, you will need 3 to 4 days.
Okay, perfect. Now, obviously, we're walking around and exploring all this history and seeing all the different attractions. We're going to be working up an appetite. So, what are some of the great restaurants that we need to make sure we visit when we're there in Bhopal?
That's my favorite question actually. I'm a big time foodie. I mean, I can think about food all day, no matter how busy I may seem. So if you like Google, it'll say kebabs and curries are the best. But if you ask me, I'll better divide it in sophisticated way. Maybe I think that's better and clear. So if you want to have only tea, so that's chai in Hindi. We prefer Raju tea stall. Reason being, it's classic and plain chai. Like there's no ginger, there isn't cardamom. It's plain classic chai. And for coffee lovers out there, like I mentioned before, Nurusawar would always be my favorite. Shantanu and I, usually have our coffee dates there. So yes, that's always my favorite. You would also want to try street food out there. So Golgappas, also known as Pani Puri. Chappan Bhog is a place that you can have the best Golgappas on earth. Heavenly best. It's so yum. They use a lot of hing, asafoetida in water, and which is like the USP.
Now, obviously, we have Indian restaurants here in the U.S. When you come and traveled, for FinCon and some of the other conferences you attend, how would you compare the what we call Indian food here in the U.S. versus what we would experience while we're there in Bhopal? Is it similar, or is it a little too spicy here, or not as spicy?
The difference would be just the spices, because when we were there in the US, and we had to tell them, you need to make it a little spicy, and even then it was not spicy enough for us. So here it is going to be fumes coming out of your ears, nose and mouth all over.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean,
that's how spicy.
even eating the food here, I mean, I start sweating. There's like steam coming off my head, so I can only imagine how how hot it's going to be over there.
And trust me, that's not even 10% of what you get in Bhopal.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like bring some extra napkins to dab away the sweat from my head. So
No, don't forget that. I have a few more restaurants to suggest. So if you want to have Indian food here in Bhopal, which is obviously my favorite, head straight to Bapu Ki Kutia or Manohar Dairy. Go for a classic thali instead of choosing specific dishes, because you will have a lot of options in thali, and it's also cheaper that way.
what is a tali?
Thali. So thali is like a combination of different kinds of curries, and you'd get roti, you'd get rice, you'd get a lot of things, and you can't even digest that easily. So Indian food, so it basically has a lot of variety.
And thali literally means the plate. So you have a huge plate in front of you, which has around 8 bowls with different curries, different veggies, different dishes. Then you have dessert with it. You have something made out of curd, or maybe as we call it, raita. All those things with rice, pulao, biryani, or rotis. There are different kinds of rotis. I mean, if I start to do that, we have around 18 to 20 kinds of rotis. So
Yeah.
that's how it is basically.
I mean, if you talk about food, you talk about India. That's all I have to say.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think something like that would be wonderful for my wife because she loves being able to sample a bunch of different things and try a bunch of different foods. So I think that'd be a great option.
Of course. And then you always have, Domino's and Pizza Hut to satisfy a hunger for pizza, McDonald's, burgers, and fries. Oh, don't forget the fries.
Right on. Well, Shantanu and Bhawna, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all those amazing tips. It's now time for the final countdown. If a traveler came to Bhopal and they only had time for one meal, where should they go and what should they eat?
They should not be missing the poha, jalebi, and chai from Raju Tea Stall. I mean, if you had even 15 minutes in Bhopal, that's something you cannot miss.
What about you, Bhawna? Do you have any suggestions on that? Because I know my wife would have way different suggestions than what I would have. So,
Oh no, oh no. Poha, jalebi, and chai from Raju Tea Stall would be my all-time favorite.
oh, fantastic! Now, both of you have lived in the city for many years now. What's one of the most memorable stories of living there?
That would be me meeting her for the first time. The moment I saw her, I mean, I was preparing for my MBA exams, and that's in the classes we met. Since then, we have been together. I mean, it's been 12 years, so that was rightly the best moment for me.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. See, Bhawna, he doesn't have to sleep on the couch tonight, right?
Oh
So,
no.
saying all the sweet things, and well, speaking of good times and happy memories, where's the happiest happy hour in Bhopal?
Happy hours Actually, when you are in Bhopal, every hour is an happy hour. But when we talk about the literal happy hours, that's the best in Jehnuma Hotel in the Platinum Bar. That's the best place to be.
Fantastic. Now, one of the things I always do whenever I travel is check out the local pizzas. So, what is the best place for pepperoni pizza?
So when we talk about pepperoni pizza in the US, I don't know, because again, it's a cultural thing. You do not get beef and pork over here in India. So what in the name of pepperoni pizza, you only get chicken pepperoni pizza, and Indians, yeah, like their meat in Indian style. So they don't usually prefer it on pizzas, but you do get this chicken pepperoni pizza, and that's just in the Domino's and the Pizza Huts.
Okay, yeah. So basically, we have to go to the American style store essentially for if we want any sort of pizza like that.
Yes, you do. But again, you won't be getting the American style pizzas over here. It's a little
Yeah,
different from that.
for sure. And that's one of the fun things. Even when you're trying like your favorites, your local favorites, and stuff like that, that you get that local twist on things, right? And so that's one of the fun things about traveling. So, like I said, earlier that we met during FinCon. It was great to be able to see both of you in person. And I know you travel a lot, both to conferences in the U.S. as well as I'm sure you travel a lot throughout your country and everywhere else. So, if you had to share a travel tip, what would that be?
It is said that travel broadens your mind. So it will only broaden your mind if you let yourself experience different things. Like, don't be in a bubble, be receptive towards what you are experiencing. So there's nothing good or bad or right or wrong, at least for me. And it is always the perspective that matters. So definitely you should let yourself experience different things.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think that's one of the great things about traveling, and that's why I try to travel as much as I can with my kids because I want them to have those broadened horizons and learn about cultures and learn how we're similar and how we're different. And in both situations, it's all right.
Definitely.
Well, again, I really appreciate both of you coming on the show and talking about Bhopal. I've learned so much about the area, and I can't wait to come visit sometime. I know both of you from your websites and from actually. I've been interviewed on your site and I've written a couple articles for you. Would you mind telling the audience a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
All right. As you said, my name is Shantanu Balchandani. I'm the founder of Diamond Time Media, and I also recently started a blog called India to States. Diamond Time Media is an affiliate marketing company focusing on lead generation through various traffic sources like email, display, etc. And India to States is a website that's very close to me and very close to my heart. The idea was generated when I was in the US last October. I then learned that there are too many Indians in the US, but not all of them have all the information that they need prior to getting to the US. So I'm just trying to help them getting information and getting real-time experiences from those who I know and those who have already done that. Those who are there for their college, their education, or for their jobs. So their experience could help those in pursuit of this American dream.
My name is Bhawna Balchandani, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Diamond Time Media and founder of Penny Calling Penny. So, like Shantanu mentioned, Diamond Time Media is an affiliate marketing company. I'll be very specific. So, when you guys get emails explaining why you should take a personal loan from an ABC company, we are behind those emails, earning through the affiliate links. And Penny Calling Penny is a blogging website focusing on personal finance for single mothers in the US. So we cover blogs like how to save money, how to make money, how to budget, top 10 personal loans, etc.
That's pretty fantastic. I think it'd be a valuable resource for anybody that's learning, and whether you're transitioning to the US or you're already here, or you just want to learn about the differences in the cultures. So I think that's pretty fantastic. If somebody has questions about Penny Calling Penny, Diamond Time, or India to States, or about Bhopal, what's the best way to reach you on social media?
LinkedIn would be the best way.
Well, we'll definitely include links to all those sites as well as to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. It's been great talking to you, and we look forward to seeing you when we travel there.
Definitely, most
Thanks.
definitely. We are honored to be on the show, and we'd love to host you someday.
While India's larger cities are known for being overcrowded and a bit chaotic, Bhopal offers peace, serenity, and many cultural experiences. It'd be amazing to visit all of the historical attractions and take the cable car ride for the amazing views. You can find all the links we talked about today and our one-page guide of Shantanu and Bhawna's tips at wetravelthere.com/Bhopal. We want to say thank you to Bluffworks for being an affiliate partner of today's episode. Bluffworks offers many styles to fit your needs, that way you can stay wrinkle-free while traveling. Go to wetravelthere.com/Bluffworks and use the promo code LEE to save 10% off your order. Join us next time as we talk with another local expert about the best things to do, see, eat, and drink in their city. Hope you join us when we travel there. I love hearing your feedback about the show. Send me an email at wetravelthere.com/contact to share your thoughts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends and tell me what you like most. Make sure you follow us on your favorite podcast app. That way you won't miss any of our upcoming destinations.